Back when I was around, I think 12 or 13-ish, basically in between that when I was in grade 8, I'm not gonna lie, I was a level 100 gooner and it was pretty bad. I would spend hours upon hours in the toilet, finding the right piece of content to, go at it for hours upon hours. And the time that I spent in there could have been spent in a lot of better places. I could have been out there playing some sort of sport. I was overweight at the time too, so I could have lost a little weight playing sports or getting out there being active. I could have also spent it just, with my family, which is also one of my biggest regrets. But that's probably one of the more minor consequences, because I think the bigger consequence that came out of being basically addicted to it and watching it so often was how it distorted my worldview and my perspective. Because I would constantly sexualize women outside of my immediate family, and I just physically couldn't see them as anything other than sexual objects. They were no longer human beings at this point. And that's not something I'm proud to admit, but it's because I'm not proud of that. That's why I want to make this video. Because I think my 12-year-old self could have really used this. And if you find yourself in a similar situation, maybe not as severe of one, but maybe similar in concept, I think this video was definitely for you. And you probably clicked on this video because you're in such a situation. You want a way out. You want to find a way to quit. Because you already know that this stuff isn't good for you, right? Like, just for a second, I want you to imagine, for your own situation, not just for mine, what your life could have been like to this point if you didn't find porn or if you weren't addicted. For me personally, I think a lot of things would have changed. First and foremost being that I would have spent a lot more time with my family. I would have had a much deeper, stronger relationship with my mother. But another one of my biggest regrets was maybe I could have approached one of the girls that I liked at my school, right? I really liked her. I liked her for nearly a year and a half. I didn't make a move because I was purely afraid. I put women on this pedestal as something other than a person, and that's why I couldn't approach them. Well, you've probably thought of a lot of things that could have been better, but it's no point thinking of that. But I wanted you to think about that because I need you to realize the effects that it had on your life, how drastically it changed your life. But we're past that now, right? We're moving forward, we're looking towards the future. There's no point looking in the past, and we want to make change. And I think I can speak for that with my own experience. Now, you don't have to believe me, but I've basically beat my addiction. I still get temptations to just, I get horny sometimes. We all do. But I've managed my lust and temptations a lot better now that I've found God first and foremost. But I've also found a system that kind of physically makes it impossible for me to watch it. And the system I have is a little complex, but if you want to copy it, I'll put a guide here right now. So what I have is basically a system of blockers that makes it impossible for me to visit any of these sites. So first and foremost, for my phone, I set a content restriction to anything that's over 18 plus to not be allowed. And although you have to set up some sort of password, I make it so that I forgot that password. I try and forget in my mind. I make that conscious decision to not remember that password so that it's impossible for me to turn off the setting and etc. But more importantly, I think my phone wasn't the big problem here. The biggest problem was my computer, because it was a bigger screen, I could get a better view, and it was where I was sitting at most of the times. So what I did for my computer is what I'm really gonna focus on in this video. I had two separate blockers set up. One was Blocker X. This was my go-to porn blocker, but a lot of the times I would just turn it off and go back to my old habits. But the thing that I found that really saved me was another blocker called Stay Focused without the E. And this blocker, what I essentially did with it was, because with Blocker X, the porn blocker, there's a separate website link where you can go to disable the blocker or to enable it. And what I did with Stay Focused was to just block the website of Blocker X so that I could not access the page, and therefore I could not turn off the porn blocker. But the special thing about Stay Focused was that it has its own special blocker where you can set up a challenge where you have to type up a specific sequence of text, and if you fail one word or you make one singular mistake, whether it be a capital or a what's the one I'm looking for? A misinput, you have to restart the thing entirely, and it makes it incredibly difficult to access the site. But you can set up that challenge and make it really difficult to re-allow yourself to access the porn blocker site so you can turn it off. But basically what I'm getting at is they secure each other kind of like a lock, and it's a lock where you don't have the password to and you can't really open. And it got to a point where it was easier for me and more pleasurable for me to not bother trying to find a solution to watch porn than to just give up and go find something else. It took so long, it became so difficult to the point that I would give up and just not bother with it anymore. And this might sound kind of stupid, and I know the method is probably a little dumb, but it's the way that I found really worked for me, because I needed something that just physically forced me, something that tied my hands behind my back, gave me no other option besides to not watch porn, to get over that initial hurdle and to get myself going, to keep that habit, or to at least start the habit. Because I found often I couldn't get past the first week, but with this, getting past that first week became incredibly easy. But that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you found something helpful from this, but please do try the method that I told you. It's a little convoluted, so if you guys are kind of confused, I'll literally make a separate video on how to do that and what I did, like just straight up. But if it did help you, please let me know in the comment section down below, because I don't want to just be crazy and have this stupid method up, because I want this to genuinely help people. I know porn is a very, very damaging thing. It's not good for you, I know that much. But yeah, I appreciate you for sticking to the end here, but that's pretty much for me. So yeah, just stay consistent, stay disciplined, keep on building that relationship with God, all right? But yeah, give me a kiss. Mwah.